Driving Television is brought to you by driving.ca.
A few weeks ago, Zach and I had the chance to review the Saturn Outlook, their full-size crossover, and we both agreed that it's one of the nicest new vehicles that we've seen from General Motors. Saturn is a brand on the move, with a host of new vehicles and a brand new image.
This is the Saturn Aura, winner of the 2007 North American Car of the Year. It's based on the Opel Vectra that's sold in Europe, and Saturn claims that they haven't modified the vehicle too much from the European version. But we don't have an Opel here to do a back-to-back comparison, so we'll have to take their word for it. And it's a good thing, too, because General Motors has plenty of good vehicles in Europe to pull from.
You're going to notice over time a distinct Saturn family look. The grille and front end treatment has features recognized in the hot Saturn sky. The overall stance of the Aura is pleasing. The fenders have a flared look, the rear deck is short, and I like the oversized rear lights. The car is a grower. At first, it doesn't really wow you, but after a few days in its presence, the styling starts to become more and more pleasing.
The Saturn Aura is built on the Epsilon platform. Other vehicles that share that platform, the Malibu Maxx, the Pontiac G6, and the Saab 9-3. So you get a general idea of the size of this vehicle. It'll be competing with industry leaders like the Toyota Camry and the Honda Accord. The side panels are made of conventional steel. Ever since Saturn came into existence almost 20 years ago, all of their cars have utilized polymer plastic side panels. Not anymore.
The Aura is sold in only two trim levels, the XE starting at around $25,000 and the higher trim level, the XR, which is priced around $31,000. Both come standard with V6 engines and a long list of standard features. So, not only is Saturn trying to woo customers with a touch of European flair, but also added value. The interior is pleasant to look at with very comfy front bucket seats and a center console that looks very familiar, especially if you've seen any of the other new GM vehicles recently. They all seem to share the same radio and heat clusters, and they work well enough. The pod behind the steering wheel features large and easy-to-read gauges. Cloth seats come standard on both trim levels, but leather seats can be ordered on both trim levels, which is nice. Power windows, doors, and AC are standard. The stereo has built-in XM satellite radio and an MP3 jack along with the optional rear wireless headphones.
Final countdown.
I said rear wireless headphones.
The final
Zach.
countdown.
Zach!
It's Europe, dude, and Europe rocks, and this car's from Europe. All kidding aside, you really want to use the headphones in the back seat. And speaking of the back seat, it's plenty big back here, even for full-size people, and everybody's protected. You get front, side, and side curtain airbags as standard equipment. This way, I don't have to listen to your air supply, Lacey. As I mentioned, whether you buy the base model, the XE, or the top-of-the-line XR, they both come with V6 engines, but not the same V6 engine. The standard power plant is a 3.5-liter V6 with 224 horsepower, or the 3.6-liter V6 found only in the XR trim with 252 horsepower. Not much of a difference, but the base model only gets a 4-speed automatic, and the XR gets a 6-speed automatic. With 2 extra gears, the engine is always in the optimal power band for better performance. Who's kidding who? This new Aura is light years ahead of any other Saturn we've ever driven. It looks better on the outside, it has a much better finish on the inside, it's just a better car. And not only that, it's got a wonderful engine. If you get that XR with the 3.6-liter V6, it's got tons of torque, gets you up and away with no problem. It's got a nice sound to it as well, and it's based on the European Opel, as we mentioned. You can throw this car into corners with confidence, but it really is nicely set up, especially with the 6-speed automatic. You get it up and cruising along the highway, it's comfortable and easy to drive.
Zach mentioned the 6-speed transmission, but what he didn't mention is the paddle shifters. They're a little bit awkward and hard to get used to. To downshift, you use the paddle shifters on either side behind the steering wheel, and if you want to upshift, you use the little tabs on the top. Personally, I prefer the traditional shifters where you have a downshift on one side and an upshift on the other side. The European breeding comes through when the Aura is asked to maneuver through the corners. It features independent suspension at all 4 corners, rack and pinion steering, and the 17 or 18-inch wheels on the XR. It all comes together to make the Aura feel light on its feet and at the same time provide a level of comfort that most will welcome. I think overall the Aura is just a nice vehicle to drive. That being said, nothing really jumped out at me, good or bad. There's adequate space and storage, a capable, comfortable ride, decent outward visibility, and a simple interior. Overall, it's just a nice vehicle. Now, for those viewers that are interested, the new Saturn Aura is also available in a hybrid. Saturn's really changed their image. They've got a whole new lineup of cars and a brand new direction with the steel body panels and the European running gear. Zach, do you think they're headed in the right direction?
Oh yeah, this is a huge improvement over the Saturns that we used to be sold. You know what, first of all, styling, I think this is a pretty good looking car. It's what I call a grower. At first you go, whatever, another 4-door sedan. But after a while, looking at it, you start to see the finer points of the design. You know what, the base price is killer, around $25,000, and you get a 3.5-liter V6. The European influence bringing their Opel cars to North America, really they should have done this long ago, and the fact they haven't altered them too much. And as Lacey mentioned, if you want to go greener, you can get a hybrid version. There's only one thing that I think they should work on. You get a 6-speed automatic if you get the bigger 3.6-liter, and only a 4-speed automatic if you get the base engine. You really should have the 6-speed matched to both engines, and then that way you get better efficiency and you get a better delivery of power and performance. What do you think?
Well, you know, I agree with you, Zach. I really like the new direction that Saturn's taking with the styling of their vehicles, and with the Aura, I really like how it looks, especially in the back end. The instrument cluster behind the steering wheel with the speedometer is really large, simple, and easy to read. It's got really nice power, smooth acceleration, and this thing's a gem on the highway. And a couple of things that I didn't like, the materials on the inside are kind of an unusual mix, and they just didn't look as nice as I think they could. Now you might get those headphones in the back, as Zach said earlier, to rock on. Those passengers back there don't have a center armrest. And I think I've mentioned this before with some of the new vehicles coming out from GM, the buttons on the steering wheel to use the radio and cruise controls are just a little bit too small.
Yeah, but it's got a nice bum. Yeah, nice bum.
For complete specs, go to our website at drivingtelevision.com.